The flame on this fucking thing. What? Uncalled for. That's the last time I go to that fucking gas station located behind a CVS. It wasn't even a gas station. It was just a guy with his fucking ass cheek spread open. And he was selling these lighters. Well, here I am. Back again with a notebook. What I've written in here today. How's everything been? Hi. Good. You think I'd be kind enough to actually ask you a question like that? I have it in here. Talk about blow me, fuckhead. We got a couple of things. We got a few things here. Nintendo goes after Yuzu. Mentioned probably a couple of times. I've become quite a proponent of retro gaming handhelds. But the initial thing, good old Chris here has gotten himself into another. It was just a verbal exchange this time. Words thrown here and there, nothing too kind. But let me tell you the story from the beginning. So this happened today, and I'm driving. It's to work from somewhere else. I think I took a detour to head to Dunks. Got myself one of those extra large midnight deals, and the baseline aggression that you see in driving in Massachusetts these days, post-pandemic, for whatever reason, it makes me believe it has something to do with the pandemic. You can kind of sense there's still sort of a degree of readjusting that just hasn't been met yet in a lot of society, where so anyways, I'm going down this street, and there's this one truck behind me, and he's minding the distance, keeping aware of how much of a gap he has provided between himself and me in front of him. That guy turns, but I noticed before even that, there's a guy behind him in as you would expect. It's either, I say, Mercedes, Audi, fucking BMW. This guy was in an Audi. And fucking just see the typical bowling ball headed New England type of shithead. And I notice his car is peeking out from the other side of this guy's car. It's going in, like half of his car at this point is in the opposite lane of traffic. And obviously it's one of these dickheads who has no sense of patience, will forego patience to increase recklessness and danger himself and others to get to wherever he's going faster. I mean, listen, if it were the case that the guy was in an emergency, which he very well may have been, what leads me to believe he wasn't, just was the smugness in his demeanor. Maybe he had a shitty day. I always go back to it. I'm not saying that I was in the right here for how I reacted to the situation either. It was two wrongs. It was two wrongs, and neither of them made a left. So how it went was, the truck makes its turn, which is quite a ways behind me at the time. And then the Audi, he's catching up to me pretty quickly. What's up with that? I'm wondering, okay, just, he's an asshole. There's a million of them. In my head, I've prepared myself to deal with assholes like this. And that thought came and went pretty quick. And my better instinct kicked in, and it just said, just pull the fuck over, let this guy go. Just save yourself the headache instead of building up this ball going downhill that is picking up anxiety over and over until it mounts and it becomes this insurmountable thing that you can't come back from, and you just lose your shit. But as I'm pulling over, I'm putting my window down, I'm just going, go ahead, go, and he can't hear me at this point. And well, I forget what I yelled out the window. I couldn't help myself. I yelled at him as he's going past me, and I noticed it's not a middle-aged dude, but it's a guy who's not exactly, he's in his twilight years, I'd say. 60s, maybe late 50s, maybe late mid 50s. What's late mid 50s is 1 year, like 56 and 56 and a half. But yeah, I yelled something at him, get their fucking something typical when it comes to road rage incidents. Just the typical dialogue that you can only think to say because your mind is so frazzled. You can only think to recall things that are just easy to just say and they're just commonplace, blah, 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 whatever. So I say something to that effect. Like, get there fucking faster. Like, make sure you don't whatever the fuck I said. I do remember what I said once he gets to a red light and I'm behind him. I rolled down my window. And I say, hey, if it's any concern to you, maybe you should think about not driving like a fucking retard. Teach yourself a little bit of self-preservation. Perhaps spare yourself and anybody else getting into an accident, getting injured, you fucking dumbass. I don't think it was that long. I don't think I went on that long. But, and this bugged the fuck out of me. He rolled down his window because he could hear me saying something. I don't know if he heard what I was saying, but I projected pretty well. I took that into an account that he had his window up and the sound of my voice may not penetrate his stupid fucking windshield or his window. Thankfully, he opened and I think he caught the tail end of me calling him a retard. So it's a win-win because he either heard me call him retard or a tard. Tard is like... Dude, it's like, that's, man, that sounds even more pejorative than retard, somehow. But in the most calm, level-headed, New England type of way, this guy was obviously pissed. And, don't you love seeing people that are like 20, 30 years older than you, and they just don't got it together? They've walked around through life. They didn't make it to the midpoint where they had been fucking up all the way up until then and were like, fuck, dude, I should change. Or else the next 30 years of my life are going to be fucking tough. No, it's one of those assholes, and Massachusetts people are inbreds. Idiots, dude. Just on the road, in stores, it is wild. It is wild how deservedly we're called massholes by the rest of this country, and perhaps even extends outside of this the continental United States. So yeah, dude, we're Massachusetts people are like Northern South Shore types, anyways, are like a step above Appalachians, and then Western Mass people are just meth addicts without any of that Appalachian charm. It's just raw toothlessness all the way until fucking Cherry. There's a place called Cherry, Mass. It's at the top corner tit of the state somewhere, I think. There's another one called Orange. This is a dumb fucking place to live. But he just says, I'm saying, like, don't get yourself fucking killed and all this shit, blah, blah. He says, blow me, fuckhead. And I'm there like, oh yeah. Like one of those, like he came across so calm, and he didn't seem fazed by what I was saying. And that, I sensed that, and that kind of got to me. But I was like, I'm gonna think. But in my head, I'm like, I can't. It was a split-second thing. It was so quick. That thing was about to turn green. He was almost about to roll his window up. He didn't really want to hear what I had to say, but I was just like, yeah, well, you keep that the fuck up. You're going to find yourself in an early fucking grave, buddy. And he kind of just looked out the window. He kind of just looked out the window at me and was like, fuck, nice. And just starts to roll up his window. And I mean, yeah, that's understandable. That's pretty much a veiled threat. When I sat in my thinking chair, which was my car seat, I was patting the back with sweat of anger. Yeah, if I heard someone say something like that to me, I would say something to the effect of nice, kind of concede defeat to the verbal exchange and roll my window up. And but from there, I was just such a douche. I just felt so empowered. I kept fucking yelling at him. And as we're rolling through the light, I'm like, all right, there you go. Now you can go. Why don't you ram into the fucking car in front of you? As like I'm slowly putting gas, putting gas into the car. Not putting gas in the car, but I'm slowly depressing the accelerator. And I'm saying, like, don't get yourself fucking killed, you fucking piece of shit. And he went straight. I took my turn, but I made sure I shouted at him. I got that last word in. Whether or not he heard me or not, I lost. I lost that whole thing. At first, I'm like, yeah, I made him feel scared because I threatened his life. Which I really wasn't trying to do. It was like, yeah, dude, you drive the way you're driving. He's trying to get around two cars in a non-passing lane situation. We're going in excess of 45 miles an hour each. It's like, it's already on a 35-mile-an-hour road. People have no regard for speed limits. Never mind stop signs. Red lights, barely. We're hanging on to our respect. We're not hanging on to it. It's kind of hanging on to us. And we're just like, let go, dude. Fuck you. Fucking red is close enough to yellow, dude. Who gives a shit? It is wild. There is a lot of people, I'm sure, notice it. It's a very sudden shift in how motorists conduct themselves these days. But here I am talking shit. I'm no better. I'm one of these pieces of shit. And you know that guy, he's off somewhere to beat a spouse, to kick an animal giving birth. He's there to do something probably not nice. Or I could be wrong entirely, and he's just he's miserable. He hates his life. Nothing's going right. Maybe his day was just off. But I decided to take that personally. And I felt just in going off on him because he said blow me and called me a fuckhead. And that triggered me, I'll admit. Kept me a little frazzled, but I found my way back onto my feet. But it was just... And then, after an interaction like that, whether or not you felt like you walked away the victor because of what you said, you might drop them on the last word or whatever, it was like, or if it's, on those occasions where it's a physical altercation and you felt like you got the best landed hits or the most amount of hits landed and shit like that, you still think about the situation, and it's just one of those things that keeps your mind excited in the worst way, and it's something you just would rather not have dealt with when it's all said and done with, and you're left there with bits and pieces of memories that are replaying very aggressively in your mind throughout the day. And that's what happened. That's what I dealt all throughout the rest of the day with, is just, once I had let the guy go, that should have just been it. Once I let him pass me, I should have just been like, fuck it, dude. I shouldn't have rolled down my window. I shouldn't have barked shit at him as he was passing me by. I'm not proud to say that I've done this a number of times, because I'm certainly one of these people who will hurl their anger at someone if I feel I am justified because I have some sort of moral high ground, in a sense, when it comes to vehicular traffic etiquette. You know, and yeah, like, people are going to drive like assholes. You're in a situation where everything, your life is inside of this crate that's going to speeds that you'd never be able to attain on foot or on a bike. And so when people are driving like assholes and they're not being mindful of that circumstance, that we're all out here, every time we step into a vehicle, it increases our likelihood of dying or serious injury by a significant margin. And when we see people on the road not bearing that in mind, it upsets us. And it's like, dude, you have so little fucking regard for everybody else here. And it's so disgustingly hypocritical, because then I will start performing actions on the road that are a result of me getting angry at someone else for not driving the way that I feel that they should be. So therefore, I start driving outside of the way I feel I should drive. I abandoned my principle because I allowed someone else to have the power over me to do that. It's like none of these people can take your power away from you and wield it as their own. No, it's something that you give them by extension of letting them get you angry. And that's what happened. And maybe the guy, like, he rolled up his window and he drove off and he felt scared and he didn't decide to turn around and confront me. I should not be thinking about it in those terms. It's entirely toxic to go about it that way, to feel that I won something because the guy let it go, which is precisely what I should have done. You know, like, even if we don't care if someone calls us a name, like, blow me, fuckhead. It was funny, and it, like, had me, like, stumble backwards a bit in my head. It's like, I wasn't expecting that. But that guy let it go. He ended it by just muttering. I heard him, he muttered under his breath, nice. Like, you know, he must have thought I was a psychopath. And he probably made the best decision by deciding not to engage with me anymore. I wouldn't. I would, if someone said some shit like that, because I stopped and I said it in my head a bunch of times. I'm like, oh, fuck, that would kind of scare me. I'd probably start shitting. And I would think that the person who was saying that to me is going to follow me. So yeah, I see how I fucked up, and I realized I got a long way to go. I don't know why I just fucking dumped that. And actually, I'm recording this. I'm telling myself I can't believe I said that. I'm still going to upload this like I give a fuck. But that's that. Don't do stupid shit on the road. And if other people are doing stupid shit on the road, let them, and find a way to get them as far away from you as possible. The best advice. It's how you win every road rage altercation. The only winning is just your complete lack of involvement in it in the first place. It's like, you can look at a comment section and all the shitty comments with an incredible sense of superiority if you just adhere to not replying to anybody. Because the people that are there, it's plenty of people my age, millennials, Zoomers. It's just wild. But what really pissed me off the most in that situation, I think, was the fact that this guy, for whatever reason, it may have been because he was having a bad day, didn't care about how he was driving, didn't care about whatever consequences he posed with his behavior at that point. But I'd been the same way. That's the crazy thing. And when we see someone do something that we are very much guilty of, repeat offenders of, it's a very American example of hypocrisy. We do that which we think is wrong and evil, but we see someone else doing it and see them for what we can't see ourselves as. It's fucking nuts. And perhaps that's how we just express frustration. We offload some of that from ourselves because we don't want to direct how we feel about the things we do and the ways we act onto ourselves. We don't want to deal with that. It's hard to face the fact that you've been a piece of shit for an amount of time in your life. It's very difficult to come to terms with those things. And it can send your mind into a tailspin, because you stumble upon the realization that you've always been this person. You never taken this thought to change. You've always been talked to about changing and what change would mean for you and others around you, but you never cared about any of them, never mind yourself, to give it a shot, to see if it would be advantageous, which without even the trial runs of successful anger management, it does a world of good. And it keeps people like me from those situations, because road rage it's no small issue. It's very much, whatever, fuck it. That guy was a prick. Fuck him. Yeah, but the other thing I should think for myself in that situation is also, I should see someone like that and be like, fuck, dude, I'm kind of like this guy is now. He had to have been that way when he was my age. Perhaps not. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm just making the assumption for the sake of the relation to like my emotional state and everything. But just so it fits. If I don't want to see myself as that person 30 years from now, I have to work on that every day. And that is where I lack the most, is committing to bettering myself in the ways that would benefit me most. Working out, dieting. I've been such a shitbag to my body. I abuse my body just by eating pleasurable foods, perhaps taking in too much of the cannabis. I've been trying to reduce that though. Fucked up with sugar again recently. I go back to the sugar on and off. It's always yo-yo with me. I hate that shit. I've been getting, instead of 2, I've been doing 3 and an occasional 4 sugars in my coffee. Which, you can tell the difference. You tell the difference when you reduce sugar by a large amount, and then you start to add amounts far smaller than you used to add into foods, drinks, or whatever. It's significant, and it's almost too saccharine, which is nice, which I'm grateful for. If I was happy the day, like it was a month ago or so, I had a soda. I had a Coke, just a regular Coke. Red label around the bottle. Took 4 sips, and it was, first and foremost, syrup. The fizz, the carbonation, yes, but the syrup was overwhelming. It was as if I had never drank Coke in my life, and that was only a result of having not drank any soda for a month. And other sugars. It wasn't just a result of just cutting the soda. Confectionaries, baked goods, candies, gummy candies, gelatin-based shit, all that shit that causes such pain and intestinal indigestion. No, indigestion, doesn't that take place in the stomach? Chris, weren't you a fucking medic, asshole? No, not a good one. But it's in one of those quadrants, I know that much. They have quadrants. So yuzu, for those of you who don't know, it's yuzu is an emulator for Switch play, for emulating Switch ROMs. And Nintendo, is this just Nintendo's new business model? Go after everybody who doesn't want them to suck, so they put great things out there for the world to enjoy, because this heartless and increasingly cold corporation won't take the initiative to be better, or just not be so isolated from what customers want. Nintendo is very, very adhered to formulaic practices that have been tried and tested. Mass Effect. There's an example of a series that fell to the wayside. Oh, because developers, publishers, whoever it is behind the mediocrity and the crudeness of what a very highly anticipated game ends up being these days, it's a lack of a fuck to give to the consumer. It just is. It just is. When you see a product come out that does incredibly well, Elden Ring, for example. When Elden Ring came out, it was beloved. People loved it. But then you had all the little fuckheads come out of the woodwork talking all this shit. It's too hard. Handy-capable persons aren't able to play it. And I'm like, dude, this is just that type of game. You know, it's like, I don't know where it was along the line, because there's sort of a lockstep with consumer to corporation. Because a lot of these people, like a lot of the people critiquing Palworld are very much loyalists to Nintendo. Fuck. Okay. And it's you just take a look at what gaming is today. I mean, Nintendo has no case from what I read about it. It's an emulator. Emulators are not illegal to they're not illegal to develop and to provide to people. And even playing the ROMs is not unlawful or illegal. But the acquisition of those ROMs can be defined as illegal and unlawful. So technically, when you download your ROMs, they're supposed to be dumped from the actual game cartridge or the disc or whatever. Let's be honest. Most people don't fucking do that. The people who are doing that are the ones that are uploading the ROM. Like let's be honest. Like ROMs exist out there on the internet to be downloaded, pirated. It's like that's a good thing. If a company will continue, very, very large, powerful companies that have a hypnosis, in a sense, over their consumer base, piracy is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that people are discovering old games that are classics. Games that are just hastily made today, just to put something out there, just to give some people what they wanted, just to get that $70 cash grab from them. Just for that, they'll put out a dog shit piece of software that is unplayable, broken, not worth a fraction of what it was paid for. And now the person that bought it is stuck with it. And when you talk about being out of touch with your company, how do like whole entire teams of people, development teams, publishing teams, how do such terrible productions, such as just any number of them that you can think of, any terrible stinky piles of shit that have somehow made their way to shelves in digital marketplaces. And how could they think at no step before this game is ever released that this will create backlash? This unfinished sack of dog dicks, severed dog dicks, is gonna fail terribly, and it will enrage a lot of people. And companies are beginning to go under now because of this. It's just they're letting the ship sink. They're just putting shit product out after shit product. And I have no want to go back to contemporary gaming. because contemporary gaming is just, it's soulless. It's soulless. You have a lot of these people now that aren't of these companies when they first came to be in their infancy, who didn't develop the heart and soul of what those companies came to mean to many people. So now it is a new class of person in the tech industry that is beginning to cut corners. Everything is about aesthetics and placement, barely about functionality, barely about compatibility, barely about making sure things run right. Independent people, teams that are making games like Pal World should be praised. If Nintendo was cool, if they weren't such a retarded, angry, vitriolic fossil of a company that just wants to throw lawsuits at any person who dares to make the potential that Nintendo has to be extremely great as they once were, before they settled into their formulas and they just stopped trying. They're coasting on the plateau. But they have nothing to worry about. Like a billionaire with his billions, they have millions of fans. It's literally a retaining wall for all the shit that they have piling up in their company. But companies like this, unless miraculously turned around by a change in leadership or a desperately needed realization by current leadership that things need to take a different course, these companies fall. They fall. We may very well be starting to see evidence of the approaching death throes of companies like Nintendo and any others. I could see, depending on how Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, I could see Square Enix going that same route too. It's just, but there's also another element that it never seems like it's enough for the consumer anymore either. The consumer is constantly a more and more bitchy type of creature that demands more from what they get, which in a lot of cases they're justified in expecting more from what was promised. But overall, the lawsuit is it won't hold water. Nintendo has nowhere to go with it. It's even if which it is, the emulator is being used to use illegal ROMs, illegally acquired ROMs. That's like, you have to go after that person who is committing that felony. It's the emulator, having been the creator of the emulator and providing it to others, open source, whatever. I don't think in and of itself that's a crime. Emulators aren't, Dolphin, PCSX2, all the, like any of them, DuckStation, like you name them. Gives a fuck, dude. But I would guess that Nintendo is just in panic mode right now, because right now they're trying to remedy all the issues that they think other people are having with lawsuits. It's like Nintendo thinks that other companies' issues are Nintendo. It's like, no, Nintendo is facing its own existential crisis, where it is, instead of deciding to be the better company that it could easily be and ask its development teams to put more effort into the games that they put out. I mean, Mario games are great. Mario games continue to impress and awesome. Super Mario Wonder, my wife and I played that briefly. Because of children and other life responsibilities, we couldn't get into it that much. But what we played of it was enjoyable, very much so. But Nintendo is just not with the times, and they're detached from who they sell to. And it's fucking, I mean, dude. I got a large fucking potato in there. That bastard's gotta come out tonight. I'm gonna get the funnel I use for my oil changes and put it in my ear and combine a mixture of bleach, vinegar, in my ear. That's when you know I've hit the high note. Seriously, I've had enough of you. Tired of looking at you. You can fucking bitch about it to me the next time I see you. Alright. Have a good night.